season, and we got to be aware of it's festive for certain people, and some it's depressing.
Yes.
And those are the ones you need to go out and just talk to. Or knock on the door. How you doing? How's everything going? If they don't want to be bothered, at least show your face and let them know that somebody cares. You
Yeah.
know, but
You
but
know.
but you know, I hear this all the time. Matter of fact, I talked to somebody the other day, and they were telling me they were just depressed. I said, "Why are you depressed?" Well, this is the holiday season, so they open up to me saying they lost loved ones this time of year, and it says, let me ask you a question. How long has it been? Oh, it's been over 10 years, but it just feels like yesterday when the holiday season come around. I said, okay. I said, I get you. I get you. But well, why don't you go out with somebody? Just sit back or go do something or anything. Matter of fact, if you're not doing nothing now, let's go have some coffee. Try to pull them
Yeah.
away, just start talking. Because I found out that if you talk somebody that's down in the dumps, and then something comes up about them making them happy, like say fishing, all of a sudden they say, "Oh man, I remember when I was back in the days, I used to fish and catch all of a sudden you see it's changing because now you found something happy that they like.
Exactly.
And it come, I don't know if
Exactly.
that's a bad thing or a good thing, but that's what I did.
I think it's a very good thing. That is exactly how you shift. It's called reframing in psychology, where you kind of take a negative situation and then you kind of think of some positives and reframing the situation. And that's a way to do that, where instead of somebody thinking about the negative and what's going on and what they have lost, you can start thinking of the good times, start thinking of the positive times, and you shift their mood, you shift their situation. But there was a question in the chat from the Majestic One. What can we do in remembering our soldiers? And that is an excellent question. So I gave one idea a second ago. Maybe if you're in around the JBSA area, you can go to some of the beach, reach out and see if you can bring gifts or food or something to the BCT training areas. See if they will allow you to come in if you have base access. Another thing you can do is go to these VFWs or veteran, halls. What is it? VFWs or what are they called? VFW
VFW
halls,
halls, yes.
veteran halls, and the seniors always have something going on. Senior veterans, where you can just bring some gifts. They usually have like shows, karaoke, some type of night where they have things going on. Stop by, and just show your appreciation. A gift card, just anything, just coming to say, Merry Christmas. We're thinking about you. You don't have to be a veteran to go to a VFW hall. You can come in there and say thank you. Find out what hours they have and bring some gifts. They usually have some type of toy drive or something going on. But just going out and remember them. That's a very, very good question. And also, if you know somebody's a veteran, that's what a great time to thank them for their service during
Yes.
the holiday season. So if there's
Mm-hmm.
any veteran homes, go to the veteran homes, spend some time, bring your grandkids. Veterans love grandkids. They
Oh,
love to
yes.
see the little ones, great, great question. And, nursing homes in general, I think are just great places to remember folks that sometimes are forgotten. I remember when I stayed in Florida, there were some nursing homes down there, and those seniors, their families sometimes couldn't make it down, and they were hurting. They
Mm-hmm.
have events and stuff like that, but just knowing that there are member church organizations going and singing some Christmas carols or whatever you can do. To me, that is really what the season is about. So, good question by the Majestic One. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got high tech on you, Ron. I can see the questions now.
Oh,
You know, up here on one of these screens
yes,
in
yes,
in front of
yes.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. She's always involved. I call her one. I don't use majestic anymore. I say one, and she
the
know what I'm
one.
talking about when I do that. But
Okay.
you brought up something now about the nursing homes and
Mhm.
the veterans and the soldiers and all that. All that goes hand in hand by just saying two simple words: "Thank you."
Thank you.
And you
Mhm.
know, sometimes the hardest things was the easiest things to do is the hardest things for people to do. They don't want to say it. Why I don't? I'll say it right away. Thank you for your service. I don't know that person from man on the moon, but if you got on a uniform and you walk into a store, somebody should be saying thank you for your services.
Yeah.
You know.
And you don't have to have the uniform on. Right now. We're in military time, USA, so we have a lot of veterans that wear their hats. They'll have right
Mm-hmm.
on there Navy veteran, Army vet, Air Force veteran. Just thank them for the service. It goes a long way,
Yeah.
and especially the Vietnam veterans. When you
Yes.
see them, you need to really thank them because they were treated very bad when they came back
Yes.
from Vietnam. So when you see a Vietnam vet, definitely reach out, say, thank you for your service
Mm-hmm.
and watch their face light up,
Yeah.
because unfortunately, they're not thanked enough. I mean, there's a lot of things and there's a lot of benefits and things they don't know about because, we don't always get all the information out that we need to our veterans, right? The best way. So I'm finding out a lot of things word of mouth myself.
Yeah.
So it's a time, to reach out to those that are less fortunate, and just have gone through something.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to reach out. So remember pound 988. I think that's the one where if you're feeling like, you might harm yourself or something's going on, that there is help out there.
Yes. There
And
is.
don't wait till it's a crisis to reach out.
You
You
know,
know,
since you brought that up, you said something shows ago that there's a telltale sign that something's going on. When that person start off you, oh, take this, get this, take this. They're giving away the things that they cherish.
right.
And a lot of people don't know that sign. They think, oh wow, I'm getting something. They give me this or she give me this. But that's a sign of telling that they're getting ready to do something. And somebody need to intervene right away. So it's hard as the everyday person to notice that, which is the lack of education. I see everybody should know something like that, especially if you know that person, and they're giving you something that you know is their pride and joy. Something's not right.
Yeah, that's one of the signs and red flags for suicidal ideation is giving things away that carry a lot of significance and carry a lot of worth to that person. You then and the best way to address that is to ask questions. Oh wow, this I know this is important to you. This is nice. Why are you giving this away? You know, What's going on? Oh, I just don't need it anymore. Well, why don't you need it anymore? So asking open-ended questions
Mm-hmm.
to get to, them to open up a little bit. And if they suddenly break down, start crying, uh, if they're just saying, or a lot of people don't understand that if a person has been kind of down for a while and then all of a sudden they get real happy, you need to ask those questions like, what's going on? Why are you so happy? And they're like, oh, well, I'm
Yeah.
not going to have to worry about this no more, or, whatever. Then that's
Oh.
another time that somebody's made a decision to do something that they can't undo, right? So when you see those signs, another thing is sometimes people just completely get withdrawn. They stop taking care of themselves, or they start acting in real erratic ways. And that could be, and I'm just, it's not a kid show, but the person starts getting real promiscuous, taking a lot of risks, going to the club and doing really dumb stuff, dating, going out with people that they know are reckless and not seem like they care about themselves or their health, their safety. That's when you start asking those questions. Hey, is something going on with you? It's not, you don't seem like you're acting normal, and some people, that's kind of hard to tell, right? If they don't
Yeah.
normally act normal, but you got to be aware of those things. But some of the signs are, like you said, giving things away. When a person is you can tell by their effect, and they just seem like they're down and they can't stop crying, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they'll just say things like, "I don't want to be here anymore," or I don't know what my purpose is now. You can start to see that hopelessness, And that's when you need to ask questions, and that's when you also need to get them some help. And I can safely say, I have never had a person regret when they had suicidal ideation, help being brought to them or them being brought to help.
Yeah.
Never. I've never had a person say, I wish you hadn't made that call. I wish you hadn't got me in. And also, one of the main things is you can call 911 and they will come out, get that person, and do an evaluation at the hospital. At least that's how it's supposed to go,
Mm.
and see if that person needs to be, uh, further stabilized. Yeah, because it's not a normal thing to want to take your life. It's just not. I see
Yeah.
too many people fighting for their life, right? You know,
Well, what about the? I heard somebody say this, and the person said he jumped on it right away. When this person said, "I'm tired. I can't take this anymore." That person
Mhm.
knew that was a red flag and instantly went over there, talked to that person till somebody else came over there, because when they said they can't take that anymore, I done seen on read or heard many suicide notes, and that phrase is in there. I can't take it
Yeah,
anymore. You
yeah.
know.
Well, and the reality is, no matter how bad the situation is, it usually always gets better in one way or another. If you just give it time and you have the support and somebody checking in, just one person that can check in can be the difference of keeping somebody alive or not.
Hmm.
And just checking in, just making sure you're good. And that's why it's so, and I want to segue to this because that's why it's so important now to have your circle, right?
Hmm.
One of the things I want to talk about, there are so many things going on. I'm not going to get into politics because you can go and watch any channel and hear the latest thing or the latest frustration, the latest thing to irritate you. And I almost think that nowadays the news is trying to make you upset. There's like specific attacks to try
Yeah.
to get people upset. Things are being renamed that should not be renamed. There are ignorant things, holidays that are trying to take away and all that, trying to get people upset. I'm so glad that we have not taken the bait. When I say we, I'm talking right now specifically African American or Black folk. We have not taken the bait. And that is a good thing, right? But
Hmm.
you can be frustrated by watching the news and it can take its toll on you. And the way to insulate yourself from that is to take care of your circle and be in a circle that's going to help take care of you. And what do I mean by that? Your friends, your family that check on you. You check on them and keep that circle tight. What's that song? Lean on me.
Yeah.
That should be the anthem right now. That is really the anthem. And in fact, I was out with my buddy the other day, and I saw a brother, and I spoke, and he just kind of looked like, I'm not speaking. I don't know you. I'm not speaking.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. You know where that comes from, other than a true place of ignorance. So what I would tell you, and hopefully, if you see somebody that's doing that, it might be them. Say, brother, we can't afford to be like that right now. I don't know if you got the memo or not, but we all we got.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's gotten out, but you are in a bad situation if you have not figured out the pulse. So I'm gonna encourage everybody to watch the new Dave Chappelle special, and that's how I'm going to address the politics thing. Listen to what Dave Chappelle says about this current environment, and yeah, we all know that something's going on, right? But we don't know specifically what's going on, like you said. But we know something's going on, and the
Yeah.
goal is to survive. A spoiler, if a little bit of a spoiler, but it's still worth watching. The goal is to survive this time, and you have to do it psychologically. And we've given tips, I've given tips on the show before how to do that, is to minimize your news watching.
Hmm.
Be aware, but don't inundate yourself watching the news. And be mindful of your household and your circle. And I think that's how we're gonna make it through this. And also, like Coach K said, you got to take care of your health.
Hmm.
Take care of your health, take care of your mind. And there's one other element I got to talk about, and that's your spirituality.
Yeah.
I consider myself a Christian or a disciple. I try to be Jesus Christ. And listen, there's a lot of help in Proverbs and Psalms. Get in there, you know. Also, again, mental health side, reach out to a therapist, reach out to Psychology Today, better help. There's so many different ways and convenient ways you can get some help. And a lot of times you can charge that if you to your mental health benefits, or they have a mental health um, portion of your healthcare benefits that will pay for your coverage. So that's kind of the thing. There's so many things going on, so much foolishness. We are definitely in a different time. Comedy is also watch that Dave Chappelle special. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Laughing at some of this stuff. You got to. What else are you gonna do with it? Cry? No,
Yeah.
I refuse. We got, we've been through stuff like this before, right? Black
Mm-hmm.
folk especially. We've been through stuff like this before. So that's another reason to go and talk to the seniors and be like, how did y'all make it back in the 60s? How did y'all make it
Exactly.
back in the 50s? How did y'all make it in the early 70s and all that? What did y'all do? And I guarantee you, they're going to say, we had a tight knit community that looked out for each other. And that's what we need to get back to.
And,
But that's
and
the silver lining.
yeah, and we did because back then in those times, the churches was there. That was our community center. It was the churches, and
Yes.
everybody met at church. I remember one time on Wednesday, and I must have been about 11, 12 years old. I looked at my mom and said, we had church every day. She said, that's right. And you continue to come every day. And we did. But I learned so much there, especially when election time came around. The politicians came in there and they talked to us about what they want to do for the community. They said
Right.
everything what they want to do. Nowadays, everything is either on Twitch or on Facebook. You're not seeing the politician. So my what I'm trying to make is I want to look you in the eyes and see what you're saying. See if you're really genuine. Because anybody could post anything. But let me look at you face to face to see how genuine you are. Then when you say something, I want to be able to ask you a question.
Come on now. And so we personally have had a situation like that where we had somebody come in front of, I think that was at what was it, Warhogs? What was that place called?
Oh,
Ball
ball
Hogs,
hogs,
right?
ball hogs.
Yeah, yeah. So to give you an example on why that's so powerful and why the church plays such an important role and still has the opportunity to play that important role is that you got back in the day, you had the mothers in there, you had the deacons in there, you had the pastor, all the elders, and you just couldn't stand up in front of them and say anything, right?
Right.
You were vetted. They knew where you were going, and that also was a sense of accountability. So when you had that approval of all those folks, and then also when somebody got just somehow slipped through the cracks and got up there with some foolishness, they were challenged. They were challenged, just like that politician that came in there
Oh
at Ball
boy.
Hogs,
He got tore a
and
new one,
he,
didn't
he
he?
barely he barely barely made it out of the lion's den. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't, I think he probably dropped out of the race.
No, he wasn't
I
in it
don't think
after that. He was done after that.
yeah, I mean, because you got to understand something, right? When you have a strong village, a strong community, we're communicating, we're talking to each other, we're leaning and supporting each other. You just can't run something by all of us. You just can't.
Yeah.
Together we're stronger, right? So there's a great opportunity. I've gone to some great churches since been back from Japan. Shout out to Resurrection Life, where our brother Glenn goes. I actually, that was a hard choice. I thought about joining there. I still would be going there to visit, but I joined CBC, right? And I loved CBC because of the way the word goes forward, but also the way, and both Resurrection Life, CBC, and there's so many other churches out there too. I don't want to just highlight those two churches. Go where you're called to go, but go somewhere.
Yeah.
Get involved and get that support from a community and a church that's actively engaged. The key point is actively engaged in the community. And those two that I named, I can verify actively engaged in the community, right? And that's where you put your money. That's where you put your tithes. And churches that are doing things that are helping the community, helping the less fortunate, and are accountable to you to show you, hey, this is what we do. This is what we're doing. You're paying through a church, right? So you can be blessed financially, but also the psychological piece. And you wonder why I'm spending so much time talking about church. Like you said, that was the nucleus, that was the foundation
Hmm.
where our help came. And there's a lot of scripture to back that up. Where you say, if you want the land to be healed, first seek me. You know, I forget if Craig was watching, he would give me the scripture. I was just saying, but when you first seek, well, I know this one. When you first seek the kingdom of heaven and righteousness, all other things will be added unto you. So that includes peace of mind. That includes provision. That includes health. That includes security. All of those things. Because two things that darkness does not like: light and truth.
Mm. Yep.
Those are the two things. Those are the two things. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you want to know where darkness is lying, look at who's lying.
That part.
There's the one thing a demon can't do, and that's tell the truth. That's what he can't do. Now he can give partial truths, but a partial truth, that's not a truth. That's still a fancy lie, right?
Hmm.
So if somebody's sitting there in your face telling you half truths or lies, you already know who you're dealing with. So what you hit them with is the truth. And you know what? What happens with light and darkness? When darkness has light, it moves away, right? So just understand that, this holiday season is about that gift, the truth and the light named Jesus Christ. And remember that. The
Yeah.
gifts don't get lost in that. That's not the reason for the season. Getting out there and so many, and I know I'm probably, let's see what time we got. We got plenty of time. That. Hey, I'm trying to stay on task, so I don't get all these points up. So usually that don't happen with us. We usually
Yeah.
get the like last 5 minutes. But I just want to get on this point right here. In the holiday season, most of the time people end up exhausted, tired, and a little frustrated, right? Because they're around chaos and alcohol and cousin somebody and aunt such and such is bringing drama and all that. Look, declare your house a drama-free zone for the holidays. If you're gonna have family over, we're not arguing over what happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. If you're gonna drink responsibly or not at all. Say, and if you know there's gonna be some problems that happen with drinking, say it won't be no drinking in my house this year.
Right.
We're gonna do non-alcoholic drinks. And then if that person don't want to come because they can't drink, then hey, they made that choice.
Yep.
Bring them a
So.
plate.
Yep. So be
Let
it.
them know their love.
Yeah.
But don't def- declare your house a peaceful zone for the holidays. And remember the reason for the season. You're supposed to have peace. Set
That's
that
right.
time at 5 o'clock and start dinner at 5 o'clock. That's hard for us because we like to be late. I know, but
Yeah.
set
I
that
hear you
time.
talking.
Set that time at 5 o'clock. And here's another suggestion too, right? Um, you don't have to have dinner at your place. If you're someplace like San Antonio, all of these hotels have a holiday. These major, like the big ones, like the Hyatt and all that. There, it's a little pricey, but they also have dinner. You're gonna spend money for a holiday dinner anyway. Go to a hotel, have your dinner there,
That's a good point.
right? And then when you come home to a clean house and you leave the drama. And people are not gonna act up in that hotel. Why? Because the police is coming. They're not going. You can act a fool if you want to at the Hyatt. You'll be down in Bear County by the end of the day. So pick some neutral places where people are going to keep their demons in check and their mental illness and behaviors in check. And you have a good time, have some good food, and you go on home. Give you a little gift exchange there at the table, or whatever, and go on home.
Yeah.
Don't think the patterns of the past, right? So that you can have a good holiday season. So hopefully some of these ideas, can help. Another thing too, like the hotel idea is you can pay for some people or some people need to come and pay for themselves, right?
Hmm.
So you're gonna knock out that uncle that's always asking for money because he ain't gonna be able to make it.
Yeah.
You know,
Real,
or you can decide, hey, I'm gonna get if you want to have dinner with us, I'll pay for your dinner, but that's all you get.
yeah.
So you limit the amount he gonna beg you for. And so I'm just saying, if you had some folks that might be like some other family members I might know, right? So it is what it is.
You just said a key point right there. When all the
Mhm.
time you get together for a holiday, it's supposed to be festival, but people always don't bring up something that happened 10 years ago. Get over it. That means they never got over it. They still want to fight over it. Then when you don't invite them, they won't know why. Man, you haven't forgot what happened 10 years ago. Everybody forgave and they moved on, but you haven't. Because anybody know it, any family, you got that one. You got that
Well,
one.
right, right, and it only take one to mess up the whole holiday vibe. All that planning, making the meal, the decorating the house, and you got this one person that's gonna come in and stir up drama, right? So anticipate it ahead of time, but like we're not having that this year,
Hmm.
and make it clear. If you want to come and enjoy holiday season, then that's what this is about. We're gonna have joy, we're gonna have peace, we're gonna have some good food, and then we're gonna go. But I think that a hotel idea might work for some folks
Yeah,
because then think about it, you don't have to clean up the house, you don't have to clean up anything. You may not have the leftovers, which is a good thing. But half the time,
yeah,
let's just be honest, man. People come in and don't hardly bring nothing and take the food up out of there. You don't have hardly any leftovers anyway.
yeah. That's right.
So I don't know. Just think it through. Make sure that you get some rest this holiday season. Enjoy it. And remember the reason for the season.
Hmm. Well,
Not
I
getting caught up in all the other stuff.
what you said, go to the hotel and all that stuff. Um,
Mhm.
me and my wife, we planned this a long time ago. New Year's Eve, we're gonna be out of town at a hotel watching fireworks.
Yeah.
We don't want to get trapped downtown. We did that a couple times in San Antonio. It was just too hectic, and so now we found a nice little spot that overlooks the lake, and the fireworks are right there, and that's relaxing. At least for us, it's relaxing. We're out of there. We can always wish everybody Happy New Year the next day and all that stuff. But for us personally, that's something we like doing. We're not into going out to the club or going to all these big places, all these people there. We go to a nice secluded spot and we sit there and we enjoy each other, just watching the fireworks over the lake and saying Happy New Year.
Hey, listen. Sounds like an excellent tradition. In fact, I might have to steal it. Yeah. But I mean, I usually, something like that. It will be right up my alley. Or I usually be at my theater room watching the other chaos. One day I want to I guess go to New York or when I get back to Southeast Asia, go to Tokyo. But even then, I'm not going to be out in the crowd. I'm going to be in a room somewhere watching the
Yeah,
fireworks. Because let's just be honest, as you get older, you figure out how to live. You know, when you're
that part.
younger, you think being in this crowd and all that, and I guess it has its place. But I think I remember years ago where I met my wife. I was moonlighting at this. Place called the Bob in Grand Rapids. So shout out to Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I was, bouncer slash greeter. And I'll never forget sitting in there for New Year's Eve, and there was so many people in that building that we just felt like sardines. And they counted down, and we were all standing in there against the wall. I'm watching the crowd, and I said, "Never again will I
Yeah.
spend well, I spend my New Year's Eve around a whole bunch of drunk people that I don't know, probably don't like half of them, and and might have to throw out one or two of them. It just is not fun at our age. We want to sit down, lounge, enjoy, relax, and I think that should be the main goal. At the end of the holiday, my wife was always like, "Well, listen, we should go here, we should go there." No, I don't want to go anywhere. I ain't spending all this money on this house to always have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm good, sit in one of these chairs with my feet up and enjoying my family, checking on folks, having some people over that that I love and in my circle. And that's, to me, that's what it's about. No drama.
Yeah,
If you got drama in your holiday, that's sad.
that is. And
That's
then
sad, and
on
it's
the
not
other point,
necessary.
then on the other point, going out there with a big crowd, I don't know about you, but we do the same thing. I'm constantly scanning. I want to make sure nobody's doing something crazy.
Yeah,
And just like you said, before we go out anywhere, we have an exit plan already. Have that in point because
yeah,
the way things
yeah.
are nowadays, you have to be ready and be prepared.
It's funny you say that. I'm gonna share one of my diagnoses. Even though I'm a therapist, I have the mental things that I have to deal with. And I guess being a therapist, you just are responsible by knowing what your baggage is. I have developed PTSD through the military and how I came up and all that. And it's hard to enjoy yourself when you're scanning all the time and having to have your back against the wall, watching. If you ever see me, I'm never going to be my back to a door.
Yes.
You've never seen, if you've seen me out, you've never seen me with my back to the door. That's because I'm not comfortable in that way. And if that's the case, that's why I'm more comfortable relaxing in my house or whatever, because I'm not on duty, right? And most of the
Mm-hmm.
guys I hang around, most of them think the same way I do. If you think about it, like my brother that's down here now, shout out to Craig Washington, you, Glenn, my boys that are my battle buddies from the military. When we are in the building, we all have the same mindset. Even my fraternity brothers I'm closest to, we all think the same way. So we always try to get there first so we can put
Mm-hmm.
our we go when we go someplace, we always try to get there first so we can have our backs to the
Mm-hmm.
wall and look out the door. And if one of us has to sit with our back to the door, we're sitting there going, "Man, Joe, I'm not comfortable. So you got to be my eyes, man,
Yeah.
and let me know
That
if
point
something
right
is."
there. Yeah.
Yeah, so and that's it. And the only person I know can't be on that security detail more is Glenn. So he's been fired. He knows what I'm talking about. He failed his assignment one night,
Oh man.
and we joke about that to this day.
You
Because
know,
both of us were sitting up there with sunglasses while I try to be cool, and messed around, and he done let something happen that shouldn't have happened, and he knows what I'm talking about. But we'll leave that
oh,
alone.
when you said that, when I first met my wife, we went to go eat sometime, and she sat there facing the door, and I said, "It's one thing you got to know about me." I said, "I face the door, you don't." She
Mhm.
asked her why. I said, "Well, I'm scanning and looking, and I'm gonna make sure that you're taken care of." I said, "Nobody's gonna come here and bum rush anything like that." So now we go out to eat. Nowadays, she automatically sits there, and I'm sitting facing the door. I just told her one time, this is how it's going to be. There's no argument over this. And I said it. I was nice and blunt and stuff, and she knew. So now it's like it's automatic. When you go down someplace, they'll pull the chair. You sit down right. She said, "No, I can't sit there. I'll sit over here."
Mhm.
It's just,
Mhm. Mhm.
and most men, like, I've never been in the military. So when I see somebody sitting facing the door, it's a military thing. And a lot of people don't realize that that's where I got it from because I grew up around the military. My uncle told me, said, "Boy, don't you ever sit your back against the door. You never know who's
Mhm.
going to come in that door." And
Right.
he
And
was,
it's important. I mean, I've left places, because I've seen the crowd start shifting,
mm,
to certain elements, and there's certain things you can tell, right? You can tell, and I watch, eye movement. So if you see people coming in, a couple people coming in, they're scanning the room. I'm like, "Oh, it's time to go." You know,
yeah,
it's might be time to leave. If I, it's just certain things you pick up. It's hard to really explain, but and it's not just the military; it's trauma.
yeah,
If you grew up, in the early '80s, early '90s, you've got some trauma. How many times have you been in a club and they started shooting?
yeah,
Or had they been known to start shooting back in the day when you were going to the clubs and all that? So it's just something that you can get conditioned to do. And now with all these active shooters going around, hey, I mean, it's something that we have to be mindful of. And I know I've become hypersensitive to it because I've come back from Japan because for 2 years I didn't have those worries. So
Yeah.
then to get on, I remember when I got off the plane in the States, I was like, oh man, I gotta get back on my P's and Q's again. I can't be, not watching the doors or watching who's moving and watching who, is
Hmm.
acting a certain way because it could be a catastrophic situation.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but that's the reality. We have to be aware of our surroundings, and choose carefully where we go. In crowds, it really just ain't it. Not for older folks, not for people. I say, and actually for the younger folks, think about what you're doing. You
Hmm.
know, think about who you're around because I can tell you for a fact. Back when I was doing the assessments for one of the behavioral health hospitals here, every Friday, all of the mental health hospitals were full. So if they're full, where's everybody else at?
That's a good point.
Yeah, they out here in the street. And what else is out here on the street? Guns, right? So when you get a person that has because there's two types of ideation, right? There's suicidal ideation, and then there's homicidal ideation. Some people either implode, hurt themselves